We're live. YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. Are you feeling as a man that you're feeling degraded? Are you feeling stuck, tired? I feel like a lot of guys are. Do you feel like you don't have the power, the energy, the vitality, the masculinity, and you don't know why? Are you angry as a man in society? I think a lot of people are feeling this way, and I feel like there's a lot of different reasons that go into it, and a lot of people don't give the right emphasis to actually what's happening in the physical realm, because what's happening in the physical realm is actually a war, and people aren't being vigilant soldiers. They're not. I think people are underestimating the minefield that we're walking through. And you go back 200 or even 100 years ago, people understood how important it was to be so vigilant about your physical survival, and now people are la-di-da about it. People think that it's not something that we have to focus on because physical survival is just taken care of, not realizing that more people in the United States are actually dying from chronic diseases than all the wars combined. And you know how crazy chimpanzee-like people are. We've been fighting and making wars for all of mankind. I mean, Genghis Khan, the Inquisition, World War I and II. Guess what? Chronic diseases in America is killing more people than all the wars ever combined. It's 1.2 million and growing per year. That's a slaughter. That is a slaughterhouse. And people, we're focusing on the Ukrainian war. We're focusing on AI and robots, but we're not even focusing on what's happening inside our own body and the war that's happening in the food industry, the crooked healthcare industry. And we're just thinking that it's all mental. There's a mental health crisis that's happening. Disaffected men, blue pill, red pill, infertility is happening. People are having less sex than ever before. Why? Why are people having less sex than ever before? There's a lot of theories on this. There's many, many different theories on this. But I'm here to present a different perspective. I want people to start thinking, what impact does the physical poisons that's coming from our water, our air, our food, what impact is that having on people's weirdness, on the infertility, on what's happening with men going their own way, what's happening with the demasculization of men? We call that andropause. So I'm going to tell you an interesting scientific study that happened in Canada. So in Canada, the scientists, they started tracking the water in a particular lake, and they wanted to see what kind of chemicals were in that lake. And they wanted to see how that was affecting the life, the fish in that lake. So they were looking at these little guys called fathead minnows. Reminds me of Rocko's Modern Life, Mr. and Mrs. Fathead. Remember those guys? You have to be a 90s kid to remember that. Anyways, they found traces of a birth control chemical in the water called EE2. And what it was doing to the fathead minnows was shocking. Even in just 6 parts per trillion, that's nano, that's the nano level. So if you divide it into 6 trillion parts, 6 of those were this EE2 chemical. And guess what it was doing? 6 parts per trillion. It wasn't just changing the behavior. It wasn't just making the fathead minnows have a little bit of anxiety. It was completely changing their sex. It was changing their sex. They were losing their reproductive organs and they were becoming females. That changes their behavior. That changes their fertility. They can't have kids, obviously. They're females. It changed their sex. And so if 6 parts per trillion of this birth control that was leaking into the water system is changing these fish's sex, what does that do to human beings? And we look at what it does to rats. We look at what it does to so many different organisms. It's not good. And so my opinion is that people are getting wackier. We're having mental disorders. Our fertility is lowering. Male testosterone levels are lower than ever before. And the demasculization of America is happening. And guys are pissed off. guys are de-energized and we don't know why. Well, let me just say something a little bit controversial, maybe. Maybe it's the chemical warfare. Maybe it's the battle that we're in regarding our food system, the water. Maybe people aren't paying enough attention to what's going on inside their body. And we're just so angry and we're blaming it on the government and we're blaming it on women and we're projecting our shadow and not even paying attention to, hey, maybe my biology itself is freaking out. Maybe that's why anxiety is the number one generalized mental disorder in the world right now. Maybe it's because literally there's chemicals that are shrinking guys' balls. There's chemicals that are decreasing your core male vitality hormone. So I wondered about this because I've had my own health issues over the last, I'd say, 8 years, you know. So I was a massage therapist, so I was responsible for other people's health. And for the longest time, I just felt like my own health was out of order. I would eat and I'd just be like, screw this. I don't want to go to work. I don't want to do anything. I don't want to be around people. It was so weird. Like, you ever get that? It's just like this fatigue, this like malaise, this feeling of just wanting to like veg out and watch Game of Thrones just because you eat. It was messed up. So I'd be at the park, I'd have my lunch after I did intermittent fasting, and then after my lunch, I'd just be out of it. I'd be like, oh man, I gotta sleep. Like, now I gotta go give this bastard a massage. I don't want to go give this bastard a massage. This guy should massage himself. And so my attitude was off, and I struggled with my own mind, my own social anxiety, my own fatigue for years, not understanding, just trying different things, trying keto, trying calorie counting. None of that garbage worked. And so I actually started to try the yoga diet and started to understand meal timing and all that stuff. And that helped a little bit. But, I was so desperate for change that what I did was I actually went to India. I thought that it was really like work through in my soul or something that I had to work through in like uh my deep spirit, like these vasanas, the subconscious, like fix your subconscious, like everything is internal, like find peace within and then you'll find peace without. All the answers are within you, find inner peace. And so I was like, yeah, like that's definitely the problem that's happening. So I underestimated what could actually be happening inside my body. I didn't really know, spoiler alert, that there was something happening within my body, hint, hint, that was actually causing a little bit of like fatigue, malaise, just kind of hating life, to be honest. Hated my job, didn't really like my social life, just like drama. And so I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go to India. Like, I'm just going to go to an ashram in India and I'm going to be a monk. I'm going to meditate. I'm going to completely try a 180, And so it was my Hail Mary. I was like, just like, this is what it's going to be. And so I was like, I had nothing to lose. So I was like, hey, parents, friends, I'm going to India. I'm going to be a monk. My friends were like, oh, yeah, are you sure you're not joining a cult? And I was like, uh, thanks for the question, but I'm pretty sure I know how to have a discernment enough not to join a cult. My parents were like, we don't really have an opinion on this, but we think that yoga is of the devil. So that being said, I'm going to be a passive parent. So that wasn't an obstacle, although I was like, just because I do yoga, I'm worshiping the devil. What? Anyways, sold my car, sold all my stuff, fly all the way to India, 16-hour trip. Guys, it was culture shock. This is 2021. I get over to India. They quarantine us for like 2 weeks in these cottages. It was completely different. People over there are just completely different. They were fascinated that I was American. They were like, oh, so like, can you tell me about like high school? Like, how was high school for you? And I was like, you learned a lot of stuff about math and, you were surrounded by friends every day. They were just super fascinated about high school for some reason. Like I got so many questions about high school. Apparently, Indian young adults are interested in high school. Maybe they're watching like High School Musical or something. They're fascinated by it. So yeah, I'm in this ashram. I'm waking up at 4:30 in the morning. I'm doing yoga for like 2 hours with everybody. There's like 1,000 people at this ashram. Cinnamon and garam masala, by the way. Really nice for digestion. And yeah, so you do yoga in the morning, you do your chanting, they put me in the kitchen. So I was working in the kitchen for like 12 hours a day. They put me in the fields. I liked working in the fields. I didn't mind pulling the weeds. And, I was like, I am officially living the monk life. And it was great for like a month. But, you know, it was different meeting all the people, and it was a good amount of stress, but something weird started to happen. I was so like excited to be in this different culture and to be like making progress and just like working really hard. I'm working on myself. I'm doing so much inner work. I'm constantly reading books. I'm studying Ayurveda, Indian medicine. And like, the vegetarian diet was super duper healthy. I'm working out in the fields all day. And I'm like, this is personal development on steroids. And I'm thinking like I'm gonna come out of this just being like a enlightened master. Like I literally thought that. Like I literally thought that I was gonna get enlightened. Like yeah. So that's kind of embarrassing to admit, but I literally thought that I was gonna get like, like yeah, like some kind of like spiritual insights. And what happened was after a month, I made some friends, and one of my really good friends that I met over there was this guy named Jake, and we were very similar. We were both really into like personal development. We were what I call like self-help junkies. And Jake, he was just like this tall American guy, and oddly enough, he was also from Illinois. And we would just talk about this self-help guru that we loved called Leo Gura, actualize.org. Anybody know Leo Gura, actualize.org? Anyways, we would talk about it for like hours on end when we were in the ashram. And we came to the point where we were just like, we're just talking so much. Like, are we even accomplishing anything? Like, we were just like, let's just take an oath of silence. Like, let's just become true monks and not even talk. And so we kind of had that level of connection. And so we're both going through this ashram experience. It's weird. We're in India. We're in freaking South India. 20 hours flight away from home, surrounded by temples and chanting and culture shock and all these weird Indian monks who literally would like sometimes verbally abuse people. It was just an intense, different culture shock, right? And after like a month, we were both feeling kind of weird. And, you see people react in different ways because there was like 700 people in this program, this yoga program. And people start behaving in different ways. You see certain people like really thriving. You see certain people getting like a little bit quieter. People start saying that they're experiencing like weird things. Like some girl was telling me that she experienced like her death. Weird things started to happen. Me, I just started to feel like, man, like this is a weird place. Like I'm not sure if I want to be here. People are kind of like they're so different that like I would connect with Jake and certain people, but I didn't want it to become like this religious thing. And so I was kind of like like people seem to be kind of rough around the edges. They're not like cultured or like polite like in America. They kind of just be like, you come here. And I was just like like so certain things rub you the wrong way. But it got worse and worse. Like 2 months in, 3 months in, I'm feeling a little bit more grumpy. Don't really understand what's going on. And so I'm like, I really want to go home. Until one night I get, well, let me just say this. We go to like the dining hall, and you go upstairs and you sit down on the floor and you wait for people to come by and serve you the food. and I'm just kind of feeling like tired as usual. I just kept on feeling more and more tired over the months. And so they serve me the food. I start to eat it. They don't even give you forks over there. Just start to eat it. And I just start to feel really nauseous. So I'm like, I pick up my food, give it to somebody, say, hey, like, nothing wrong with the food, but I just can't eat this food. I'm just done. So give it to my friend, go outside. It's nighttime, sit next to like this giant furnace. There was this like gigantic, like 20-foot long furnace that we would chop wood and throw this wood into. And it was really cold during the time. And so I felt nauseous. So I just like sit down next to that. I just feel like lightheaded. And I'm like, what is going on with me? Like, am I having like a spiritual experience? Like, am I going to have an out of body experience? Like, it felt really weird. And I just sat there for like 20 minutes and I texted my friend Jake. I was like, Jake, like, I'm feeling really weird. Like, come check on me. Um, I don't know what's going on with me. And so I sent him that text, and um, the next thing that I know, I'm like in this little like Indian ambulance, and they're kind of like bringing me to the clinic because I was like I wasn't passing out, but I was just feeling really out of it. And so Jake, he had the clinicians come and take care of me. And I was just dizzy, but they were just looking after me. They took me to the clinic. They looked at my vital signs. I was fine, but they basically just gave me like antacids and like digestive aids, and they're like, "You'll be fine." I wasn't fine, guys. I wasn't fine. That night, I literally couldn't sleep. I was it's kind of nasty, but I literally just stayed up and kind of just had like diarrhea for like the whole night and was just like kind of puking. And I texted Jake. And I was just like, man, like I'm really struggling. And you can't call 911 over there. The clinic was the only source of like emergency relief, and they already saw me and they're like, you're gonna be fine, just take your meds. And it's like 2 a.m. until like morning. I'm just feeling like something's coming at me. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. So I just text Jake. I'm like, hey, I'm really sick. I'm really struggling. I'm gonna try to sleep, but like, can you check on me in the morning? And like that same night, I actually thought like this could be it. I realized like there is no 911. There is no like ambulance to come and get me. Like this is the Wild West. Like this is it. This is it. Like I have to just survive. Like I'm puking, I'm like shitting, like there's nobody, everybody else is just sleeping. Like we slept kind of like outdoors, but we're under this giant it's like an apartment complex, right? So it's not like we're exposed, but people had their mosquito nets and their mattresses, and there's probably like 100, 200 of us in this like giant apartment overhang. And yeah, I was just suffering. And that night I probably slept like 2 hours, but I woke up. I was like, hey, I'm still here, but I just felt out of it. And I remembered that one of my clients was a doctor, and he told me, you got to bring this antibiotic. So I was like, oh my God, I have an antibiotic. Maybe I should take that. So go to my pack, take my antibiotic, and I take 1 round. And I'm just like, please, God, like, please, like, let this not just like kill me. And I started to feel a little bit better. Like that day, I don't die. So that was good. That was pretty good. But I was so out of it that I couldn't go to work. So I told them like, hey, I can't go to work. And they're like, maybe you have long COVID. So they're like, let's quarantine you. So they throw me into quarantine. And so I'm like, great. Here I am. I think that I'm coming to India to this ashram to like get spiritual enlightenment, to like fix my life. And here I am, sick, quarantined, not knowing what the hell is happening. I'm terrified because I don't trust the medical establishment over there. I don't even have access to like any real medical establishment because I'm in this ashram where they give you like antacids and digestive aids when you almost like faint. And so I'm quarantined for like a week. I'm texting Jake. I'm like, this is crazy, man. Like I gotta get the hell out of here. but I'm quarantined. So I basically just feel weird and like low energy, and I'm quarantined for like 10 days. I didn't have COVID. They let me out after 10 days. I'm like, I'm getting the hell out of here. Like, I gotta go home. Like, I am done. I am done with this place. Like, I have to go home. Like, I'm like, get me out of this crazy place. Like, I'm done with your freaking temples. I'm done with this 4 a.m. yoga. I'm done with your medical system. I'm done. Like, so I just like I try to find a way to get home. And in my mind, I'm like, am I actually going to be able to get home? Because at this point, I was supposed to be there for 7 months, and it was like 3 months in, and I'm like, yeah, I'm cashing out. Like, I'm cashing out. And they're like, it's totally fine, but you had to figure out how to like get to the airport, and like, the taxi system there is weird. You don't speak the language. And when you're that out of it, when you feel like something almost took you out, you're just like, damn, like it was actually really hard to like get the airplane ticket, schedule everything. I've had to like exit the ashram. I had to do like exit interviews. They had to actually book a taxi for me. Like you can't actually book a taxi. Like, because your internet service was so limited, like you needed help to get somebody to come out to the ashram. And I just realized my vulnerability. I was like, oh my God, like if this was a cult, and if they wanted to keep me, if they wanted to just like make me a slave or something, like I would be screwed. I would be completely screwed. Like I realized like how naive and sheltered I was as an American coming to a foreign country, and the vulnerability that can happen with like your health, that can happen with um money, communication. Like you literally just throw yourself into like a cave, and you're at the mercy of this, like these thousands of people. I mean, it was a jungle. Like bacteria can come after you, bad health can come after you, weird people can come after you. You're in like a religious system where people have strange ideas, and there's like power hierarchies. There's drama and conflict, and like people with very strange beliefs. And there's no government like in America. You don't have the same ability to like call the police. You're not entitled to anything. You don't have like all the amenities that you have here in America, like the institutions of hospital that will take care of you, even if you don't have money, like a police force. Like I didn't have access to the police or a hospital. It was crazy. And for some reason that didn't click to me. I was like, this is an international yoga organization. The reputation is on the line. Like they wouldn't dare but treat me like an American. You know what I'm saying? Thank God they're an upright organization. They completely understood. They helped me in every way that they could. They weren't weird in any way, shape, or form. Got on that airplane, started flying home, and the second I got on the airplane, and the second I started flying home, I felt tremendously better. Part of it was definitely psychological. I was like, oh my God, like I'm going home, man. Like I'm going home. I'm out of this hellhole. Part of it, though, that I didn't understand was it actually started to click to me once I started to regain my energy and my stability. Is that, oh my God, like I was drinking the water over there. I was drinking the water, and every single time I drank water, I would feel tired and out of it. So I started to piece the pieces together. And then I started to realize, I was like, oh my God, like now I'm drinking good water. I'm drinking like different food. I'm not eating with my bare fingers. And I started to realize I lost like 20, 30 pounds. And all of a sudden, I'm just feeling like strong and energized again once I'm eating like American food and having like filtered water that doesn't have like bad bacteria. And I remembered all the stories of the people saying like, you got to drink only bottled water. You have to drink like really clean water, like boil your water. I was like, oh my God, like that explains so much. It explains why I got sick. It explains why I felt so tired and dizzy after like drinking water. eating food. It explains why I was getting like more and more socially isolated, why I was feeling more like grumpy and irritable, why I was feeling like it was harder to think, my brain fog. And I started to just understand like, wow, so just from having a little bit of like bad bacteria in my gut, it started to completely just ruin like my personality, my energy, my ability to function, my ability to work. It was just decreasing my productivity and just made my life hell. Period. Period. It was that simple. And I was talking to my friend Jake, who is still there at the ashram, and crazy thing happened to him too. We had such a similar experience. He was sending me photos of like this bacteria that was like attacking him. Like it was just like on his face and it was like attacking, like going, like running down his throat. And he was like, it's on my foot. Like I can't get like medications over here. I gotta come home. I'm just like, bro, come home. He's like, but I don't want to because I feel like I committed to stay here for 7 months. I'm like, bro, like a bacteria is attacking you. Like, come home and get like medications. Like, it's scary. Like, the world, what I learned is the world is still a place full of physical challenges and physical entities that are literally still trying to kill you. They're literally still trying to kill you. And over here in America, we kind of forget about that because we're not a third world country. We have the medical system. We have fluorinated water. And so we don't deal with the same level of physical brutality that people over in India deal with, right? We're not dealing with the same physical health problems. But it doesn't mean that we're still not in a world where we're physically under attack. Because if you just look at the mental health of Americans, if you just look at what's going on with how many people are dying of chronic diseases, we're still in a battlefield. We're still in a living hell. We're still in a coliseum where health is literally the most dangerous thing in your life. It's not the Muslims, it's not communism necessarily, even though those are threats. I'm saying the most immediate threat to your life right now that's affecting your health right now, whether or not you're going to die early, suffer, and live a hellish life, is your physical well being. And if you're not in touch with that, then what I would say is we're pretty much, you're being naive. You're deceived by the propaganda. Because trust me, there is chemical warfare, there is information warfare, there's propaganda coming from the government and these big companies that are just trying to profit, profit, profit. And you see it everywhere. They had this huge campaign. All the people who are promoting high fructose corn syrup, what do they say? Sugar is sugar. There's nothing wrong with our high fructose corn syrup. Meanwhile, everybody knows that sugar is the most degenerating substance, especially their sugar. You see lies like this coming from everywhere. You see Monsanto saying, these chemicals, the atrazine, the glyphosate that we're putting on like all of your food that we're making, it doesn't have harmful effects on people. Yeah, it could degenerate and explode the intestinal tracts of all the insects that we're putting in our crops, but it's not dangerous for you. You don't have to worry about that. Just keep on buying my product and don't worry about your physical health. Don't worry about it. Trust me. You're okay. Meanwhile, we see GI problems exploding. We see mental health problems exploding. What the ancients said is that your gut is your second brain. Okay. So if the glyphosate is literally an antibiotic, destroys the intestinal tract of insects, and then we're eating it like crazy, and we're thinking, pesticides don't have anything to do with mental health. Pesticides don't have anything to do with physical degeneration, and this is the food that we're eating. We see chemicals in the water. There's lies everywhere, guys. There's lies everywhere, and it's the most threatening thing, and it's debatable. It's hugely under debate, basically because people are lying. They're lying. It's called lobbying. They're so desperate to lie that they will pay people millions and billions of dollars to lie. They are paying liars. They are rich liars, and their success depends on their lies. And their lies are actually so harmful. They don't care about the health of America. They are actually the vampires that are degenerating an entire nation. And you see the degeneration of the health of the entire nation happening right before your eyes. And we see Will Durant talk about this. He's one of the most genius historians of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. And he talks about the degeneration of the human stock over the millennia, and what happens when entire countries they start degenerating their stock through living unhealthy ways and mixing and interbreeding with weaker stock. He talks about the Celtics coming from the north, all these Vikings and powerful stock, the Aryans who come from the most harsh environments. And you see these like powerful, huge physiques of like Vikings. You know what I mean? Like that's not just lore. Like the Nordics, they were a very physically strong stock race. And then as they started to conquer, historically, they started to conquer down, and they started to do raids, and they started to conquer the southern countries and territories. And so they would kill people, and they would rape, and they would intermarry with the people of the South. And the people of the South, they weren't the same legendary type physiques. They were kind of a little bit more frail, more prone to disease. They didn't have as much vitality, vigor, strength. And so you see the intermixing of the stock of the great Nordic physiques. Even now, you look at the physiques of the Nordics, you look at the health status of the Nordics, they're just like amazingly stable people. I mean, you look at their society, low mental health disorders, low levels of chronic diseases, their health is just dynamic. They have extremely healthy water, extremely healthy food systems. And so that's why you see people like, who watches Game of Thrones? That one woman in the show where she takes Jaime Lannister. She's just like this Hulk of a woman. She's like 6 feet tall, just like built like a tank. Guess where she's from? Yeah, she's from Europe, and she's from Northern Europe. And so you see that type of thing. You see the average height of people over there is like so much taller than in Southern countries. And so the point is the degeneration of the stock is what shapes history. And so actually, what is one of the primary reasons why human beings are here? I would say one of the reasons is obviously survival, physical evolution. Okay. So a lot of people talk about what's the purpose of life? We'll give flowery answers, joy and love and, attaining God and, very poetic, very, very beautiful, very pretty answers. And, all of them might have a certain amount of validity, but you know what? In order to become enlightened, in order to even attain to like peace or beauty, in order to become creative, first you have to survive. First you have to actually not die. First you have to not have like chronic diseases that suck away all your time, energy. First you have to not be like a derper who's just like riddled with brain fog and addictions. First you have to not be a weed smoking, alcohol guzzling, hookah smoking addict who's having mental health disorders, bouncing around from therapist to therapist, victimizing, entitled, and just a literally coping disaster. First, you have to make sure that you're not that. And a lot of people are like that. A lot of people are coping and struggling, and I call it derping. Yet we have all these ideals like, the purpose of life is enlightenment, it's love, it's bliss. Okay, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, guys. First, you have to survive. First, you have to have physical well-being and thriving. First, you have to not be poor. First, you have to not be blaming the government for your poverty and saying that you're entitled and deserve this, this, and that. First, how about we be realistic and practical and handle those things and actually take care of our physical well-being, our shelter, our survival, our energy, our physical and dynamic power, instead of focusing on like, oh yeah, like purpose of life is to pontificate and act like I'm a very enlightened, very virtuous human being and like spout my philosophies on Reddit and Facebook and have online debates and pretend like I'm this advanced human being. Meanwhile, you're addicted to porn, you're drinking alcohol, you smoke weed every day, and you have all these genius opinions about life and philosophy and the government. Meanwhile, you're freaking physically dying. You're physically dying. And you know what? I have a lot of empathy for that. Because that was me. Okay. I'm not pontificating, I'm not spouting, I'm not pointing the finger. I understand that. I understand being in that position where you don't know. People don't know that their physical body is literally under assault. And that's what's causing a lot of their problems in life. That's the reason why they find it hard to follow through with their goals. They find it hard. They're like procrastinating. They find it hard to socialize and find a girlfriend. More and more people are not getting married nowadays. They're not having as many kids. We're not having as many intimate relationships. It's becoming a weird place, guys. Society is becoming a weird place. They're turtling back into their internet cocoons. People are spending more and more time online. We're having parasocial relationships, and it's not going well. You see, women aren't doing this as much. They're more social beings right now. They're not as weakened by the internet as men. See, what do you guys think? What do you guys think? You guys think that we're moving more into like a matriarchal society in America? You think that the internet is empowering women more than men? Because that's definitely how I see it. I mean, I'm no genius philosopher. I'm no anthropologist. I may be wrong, but I pay attention and I think a lot about these things. And I've had my own adventures through physical illness, through psychological struggles, and overcoming pornography, overcoming overeating and addictions that I use to help me mentally. So I'm a unit of data in the scientific study, this experiment, this journey, this voyage and adventure that we're taking through this weird phase of time where it seems like men are being more and more disempowered and women are being more and more empowered, right? So you may be wondering, well, okay, all right. So what are you saying, John? What are you saying? What's the solution? Well, I could just go off and start talking about, this is what we do to detox. This is where all the toxins are in the food and the water and the air and the cosmetic products, and this is how we avoid it. A lot of people already know this. A lot of people already know, like, there's toxins and poisons. A lot of people kind of know how to detox. Like, you do intermittent fasting. You start taking the right herbs. You take turmeric. You take triphala. You take guduchi. You do more intermittent fasting. You sweat more. You do yoga in the sunlight. You get more sun. You get more sleep. This is basic stuff. This is elementary stuff. But I think awareness is really something that opens up a lot of doors. And it's part of the solution. So having conversations, really thinking deeply about what's really going on in society and bringing awareness to what's going on with our bodies and our minds. That's a big piece. It really is. And so you look at what's happening with men, and it's not good. It begs the question, how do we approach this? Guys, you tell me what you think. You tell me if you think that women are getting the longer end of the stick nowadays, if you think that guys are falling into more traps that society is presenting us with, for example, pornography, something like 75% of men watch pornography, and 25 to 30% of women, roughly, watch pornography. And pornography is not a ennobling force in society. It's not an ingratiating educational journey into higher culture, as some people would put it. A lot of people like to say it's a exploration of your body. It lets you explore what you like and what you don't like. Rubbish. Rubbish. I completely challenge and reject that. I completely challenge and reject that philosophy. Pornography, although I'm not completely demonizing it, it's obvious that it has physical and mental health impacts that are not beneficial. You're not gonna, you think that gooning and watching a lot of porn is like a positive force on society? You think that people are gonna get smarter, get more productive watching pornography, smoking weed? How naive do you have to be? Don't make me laugh. It's preposterous. See, people are very naive and gullible, self-deluded, and so they're blind to their own self-biases. There's a great book that Ty Lopez recommends that I just started reading called The Folly of Fools. The role of self-deception in human beings, and why Leo Gura calls human beings the bullshit animal. We're the bullshit animal, guys. Me included. Me included. So what does this mean? The folly of fools. Why do people self-delude? Why are we so out of touch with the truth? Why are we so rationalizing of our behaviors? Why are we so defensive? Why are we so protective of our way of life that we don't want to hear people contradict what we're talking about? We don't want to hear other opinions. We don't want to change our religious or our political beliefs. We don't want to actually admit that what we're doing might be wrong, that we might have something to learn, that somebody else might be right and that we might be wrong. That why do people constantly just defend their cherry-picked lifestyle? Why do people constantly just say, like, my opinion is always right? There's no way that weed can be bad for you. There's no way that it can impair your focus or your memory. I'm not going to look at the scientific evidence. And on the other side, why do people get so moralistic and accusatory and judgmental, which is something that I'm guilty of, okay? I'm guilty of being a little bit on the other side where I'm like, oh, weed is always bad. Porn is always bad. Alcohol is always bad. No. See, so that's also an error. Who said this? Who said that with anything in life, there's a thesis, antithesis, synthesis? The golden mean, Aristotle. So Charlie Munger, one of the most rich and successful men of all time, business partner of Warren Buffett, he said, you should not be able to have an opinion unless if you're able to argue the opposite. And so that's something I've been challenging myself with is, okay, so if I think that weed is a degenerating force that lowers motivation and focus and memory in people, that's my thesis. What's the antithesis? Well, the antithesis is that it's a relatively harmless aid that people can use to calm their anxiety and to prevent excess stress, which is unarguably a killer. And so compared to many other things that they could be doing, like stressing out, worrying, raging, or taking antidepressants, isn't it a step in the right direction? Yeah. Yeah, yes, it is. And in many different cases, people smoking weed is a relatively benign alternative to all the horrible approaches of solving these complex human problems. So it's not like things are black and white, guys. I'm really not moralizing here. I'm really not moralizing. Things are very complicated, right? And humans are very complex. Humans and our problems and our minds and our bodies are very complex. So almost everything is going to have nuance. So, you know, you guys tell me, what do you think is really happening in society? We're going to wrap up this talk. What do you think is happening in society? Why are guys disgruntled? Are they? Are guys getting the short end of the stick? Are guys becoming more and more introverted, incels? Are we having less sex? Are we physically degenerating? Are we in an epidemic, a health epidemic? Should we be building an ark, so to speak, against this horrible flood of toxins, poisons, propaganda? Where should we be focused to actually increase our vitality, our productivity, our brain health? What should we be focused on? How much should we be focused on our physical dynamism, our physical vitality? How much can we trust the medical system? How much can we trust the food system in America? How much should we be taking that into our own hands? And should we be prioritizing physical well-being now so that we can stabilize and start self-actualizing up the stages of Maslow's hierarchy of needs? Where are we at? Are we over idealistic, focusing too much on the philosophical and the psychological while neglecting even the foundations of physical well-being? Not to say that we shouldn't be focusing on the philosophical and the religious and the political and the idealization, but should we be doing it at such an expense of not even focusing on what we're eating? If we're getting poisoned, if our water is toxic, if our food is riddled with poisons, if our fertility is getting destroyed, if our physical and mental is under attack by the very food that we're eating at Starbucks, at Einstein's, at Publix, even at Whole Foods. Are we focusing on fixing something that's up here when in reality the thing that's really punching us in the gut is literally the bagel that we ate for breakfast? And don't underestimate this. I mean, it sounds ridiculous, but it's like what you ate for breakfast, if it had atrazine, glyphosate, pesticides, antibiotics in it, let's not be naive enough to think that that doesn't have an impact on us. It's a science. The pharmaceuticals that are in our water system, I mean, you tell me. You tell me what we should focus on, guys. Because the way I see it, we have a lot of bullshit to flush out, both in society, all the lies, but we have a lot of bullshit to flush out of our own system. So we have to detox our bodies, but we have to detox our minds too. We have to open our minds. We have to expand and have these conversations so that we can detox our bullshit beliefs that might have been there by propaganda of these companies that are just trying to line their own pocketbooks with lies. Food guide pyramid. You should be eating 8 servings of wheat a day. Sugar is sugar, guys. Sugar is sugar. You should be taking all these medications. Medications is what makes you healthy, guys. The more medications people are on, the healthier they get, right? Right? $1 trillion industry. Should people be on blood pressure medications, antidepressants? Is that the solution? Is that the solution to what's going on in society? People don't have enough SSRIs. People don't have enough antidepressants. Is that the cause of the mental health epidemic, guys? Should people be taking more SSRIs and benzodiazepines and Adderall? That's the reason why we're having this health crisis. Not enough medications, not enough antidepressants. I'm not buying it. Leave your comments below. Guys. Click the link in the description. I'm going to put the real solution of how to actually start detoxing. It's what I learned after coming back from India. It's what I learned from the yoga science. It's just the herbs. It's the fasting. Do I have a conflict of interest in this? Am I making billions of dollars telling you to eat turmeric? I don't think so. I don't have a conflict of interest. This is what the yoke. Maybe I do. Maybe I'm an affiliate for broccoli. That's why I'm wearing green. Illuminati. You gotta beware. Test me. Check out my stuff. See if I'm legit. See if I'm talking about real stuff. See if I'm sharing scientific studies. See if I'm a propagandist. You gotta test everybody. See if I'm a wolf in sheep's clothing. I got a picture of Jesus, but is that just a scam? Am I a real Christian, guys? Am I a real Christian? Or do I just talk about Charlie Kirk? Do I just talk about Charlie Kirk because it's the popularity stunt? Am I a real Christian? All questions that you're going to have to answer yourself. But what I want you to do is investigate. Investigate. Open your mind. Let's investigate. Let's not stick to our current beliefs. Let's actually say, I'm on an investigation. I'm willing to look at different information. I'm willing to actually see and test out and judge the people by the fruits that they bear. That's what Christ said. He said, you'll know them by their fruits. So inspect me, inspect the information that I give you, inspect everything, inspect all the information that's out there. See what kind of fruit it's bearing. You look at the history, look at what happens when people do a little bit more fasting, do a little bit more natural herbs. When people actually return back to how they used to live in the past, more sunlight, more walking, a standing desk, less sitting, more fresh air, more earthing, more grounding. This is what I'm talking about. Getting rid of the pesticides, eating real milk, real dairy, real meat, not this factory farm. No, I'm talking about grass fed. I'm talking about organic. I'm talking about getting rid of all the glyphosate. I'm talking about getting a water filter. Okay. I'm saying that this is the real medicine. I'm saying that this is the real medicine, not, okay, let me just give you blood pressure medication. Let me give you cholesterol medication. Let me give you this like anti-anxiety medication. Like, I'm a doctor. Like, I studied medicine for 12 years and I have this white tunic and I'm not indoctrinated. That's not where doctor comes from. Doctor doesn't mean I'm indoctrinated. Trust me, I'm a doctor. I'm going to give you pharmaceuticals and not tell you about herbs, not tell you about your ancient past, not tell you about how to return back to nature. It's preposterous. You guys, like Phil Collins said, we're in a world of confusion. We're in a world of confusion. These are the times that we live in. We got to have these conversations. Check out the Yoga Detox. Check out the Real Remedy, the herbs. Check me out. Let me know what you think. Don't trust me. Don't trust anybody. Think for yourself. Try everybody. Look at their fruits. Thesis, antithesis, synthesis, and trying to find the nuances and knowledge and not being hung up on convictions. Remember the folly of fools. And what Friedrich Nietzsche said, I'll leave you with this. Convictions are greater enemies of the truth than lies. Peace and out. Have a strong day. Peace and out. Gonna eat some Amish eggs, guys. Real eggs.